The planet I have chosen to talk about for my Planet Vacay assignment is Mars. I find it very interesting because it is the closest planet to us and we are still learning about it. So when we travel to Mars, what we want to expect is what the environment is like, climate or weather, the difference between the gravity of Earth and Mars, different exposures, what to expect on the surface area, the moons or the satellites surrounding Mars, and what to wear or structural buildings that would allow us to remain on Mars and still be protected. So the environment is a very thin atmosphere that allows materials or foreign objects to pass through and enter Mars. It's 100 times thinner than Earth. The climate on Mars comes in many factors, which include polar ice caps, dust storms, and water vapors. Like certain environments on Earth where we have rain, snow, or dust storms, Mars has dust storms that cover the entire planet that last months, creating a foggy red layer, which people perceive as the red planet, and what they are seeing is the dust. When it comes to the climate or weather and what to expect, according to scientific studies, periods older than 3.5 billion years ago, Mars's atmosphere was capable of running water on its surface. Scientists believe that the reason Mars's atmosphere thinned is based on the theory that the red planet's light gravity was combined with its global magnetic field, which soon left the atmosphere vulnerable to solar wind pressure. Due to the thin atmosphere and the space between the red planet and our sun, it has such a much colder climate than we would think. The average temperature is negative 60 degrees Celsius. During the winter, Mars's temperature ranges from negative 125 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius during midday due to its polar caps. Both the North and the South poles are home to water ice. It stays frozen all year. The ice can expand halfway to the equator of the planet, as well as the atmosphere lacks the density to handle Mars's weather. When talking about satellites, Mars has two moons named Phobos and Deimos. Much like the crater, the two moons are shaped irregularly. They both are very close to the moon, Mars. Both moons have key features that can easily be seen. The gravity compared between Earth and Mars. The surface area of Mars is much larger than Earth, whereas the gravity on Earth is much stronger than Mars. So when we're looking at this, it's a very big difference. And if we are traveling to Mars, what to expect when we are dealing with gravity that we live with today on a daily basis. Mars's terrain, its surface area is very rocky. It's dry, cold, and extreme terrain. When talking about exposure, radiation is a very big concept on Mars. Due to Mars's thin atmosphere, it lacks protection against radiation. The planet has a constant exposure of SEPs and GCR radiation for a total of 6 months. Because Mars is completely exposed to large amounts of radiation daily, the planet is exposed to 300 MSVs. It is equivalent to a patient getting 24 CAT scans all at once. When traveling to Mars, it might be a good idea to wear specialized suits to keep us safe from dangerous exposure. Similar or almost identical terrain on Mars as on Earth, which allows us to be capable of creating things that allow us to live on Mars or take a vacation to Mars because we live on rocky terrains or we go and camp on rocky terrains depending on how far you go. We create a structural shelters that are very contained. When dealing with food and drinking water, they have daily food and water shipments delivered to Mars because it would not be possible for plant or crop life to grow naturally on Mars's rocky surface. And this is pretty much it. I think it's very interesting because you get to learn a lot more about Mars than what you would expect. And I definitely recommend taking this as an idea for a trip.